So if you feel that stirring, that call, then don't stop here. The path continues. A symbol feared and revered by ancient mystics, linked to Saturn, the god of karma, time, and limitation. Some say it's a prison for the soul. Others say it's the final gate before spiritual liberation. This is the full story of the Black Cube of Saturn. And by the end of this video, you may never look at your reality the same way again. The cube, a form that shapes reality. Before the Black Cube was whispered about in esoteric circles or connected to cryptic conspiracy theories, before it became a symbol hidden in corporate logos or spiritual rituals, it was simply this, one of the most sacred and powerful forms in all of geometry. The cube, 6 perfect faces, 12 identical edges, each meeting at a right angle, is more than just mathematical precision. It is a universal archetype of order, etched into the very structure of existence. In the world of sacred geometry, where shapes are not just visual but vibrational, the cube represents the foundational qualities of stability, structure, form, and the physical world. Unlike the circle, which is infinite, boundless, and without beginning or end, the cube has defined limits. It is the form of matter itself. It is gravity, weight, density, the forces that anchor spirit into flesh. To incarnate is to step into the cube, to take on a body, to enter time, to be bound by laws, is to descend from the formless into form. And so, the Black Cube becomes something more than geometric. It becomes a spiritual container, a symbolic prison, where the soul forgets its origin. It is a matter overshadowing spirit, a silent monolith of mystery, limitation, and profound potential. What appears to be a static form is, in truth, a coded challenge. The cube holds the shape of the world we live in, and the very walls we must learn to dissolve from within. Saturn, the god behind the cube. To truly grasp the mystery of the Black Cube, we must first meet the force that powers it, Saturn. To the Romans, Saturn was the god of time, agriculture, and inevitable decay, the one who ruled over the Golden Age, a period of structured peace, yet marked by stasis. To the Greeks, he was known as Kronos, a titan who, fearing rebellion, devoured his own children. This myth wasn't just horror, it was symbolism. Time, in its relentless march, consumes all things, youth, beauty, dreams. Saturn is that force, both sacred and fearsome. In astrology, Saturn governs discipline, responsibility, boundaries, and karma. He is the cosmic judge, the enforcer of spiritual laws. He delays, denies, and demands. But he also teaches. Through hardship, he forges wisdom. Through restriction, he awakens resilience. Saturn is the architect of form, and the cube is his masterpiece. A symbol of fixed reality, the Black Cube is not meant to trap the soul, but to pressure it, like coal, until it becomes a diamond. His lessons are never easy, but they are never without purpose. Saturn doesn't punish, he initiates. And the cube is his sacred trial. The cube in ancient cultures and sacred sites. From Mesopotamia to Egypt to the Abrahamic religions, the cube has appeared over and over. In Babylon, Saturn was worshipped as Kayamanu, the steady one, a force of judgment and balance. In Egypt, Saturn was linked to Ptah, the god of form and architecture, the builder of reality. In Islam, the Kaaba, a massive black cube, sits at the center of Mecca, encircled by millions during the Hajj. These weren't coincidences. The cube was not just a shape, it was a portal, a container, a cosmic anchor. Even in Jewish mysticism, Malkut, the final sphere on the Tree of Life, represents the material plane, often symbolized as a black cube, the final stop of divine energy descending into form. And in modern cities like New York, Berlin, or Melbourne, abstract black cube sculptures appear again, silent, heavy, watching. The psychological cube, Jung, shadow, and the inner prison. Throughout history, the black cube has reappeared with an almost eerie consistency across civilizations, spiritual traditions, and sacred architecture. Far from being a modern invention or abstract concept, the cube has long been understood as a powerful spiritual symbol, a geometric vessel that anchors divine energy into physical form. The cube doesn't just exist in sacred geometry or architecture, it lives within us. Psychologist Carl Jung might have called it a symbol of the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we suppress. Fear, guilt, shame, desires, wounds. In the language of the psyche, the black cube becomes the internal prison of conditioning. It is the ego, rigid, defensive, afraid of dissolution. It is the repetitive mind, looping through fears, attachments, and unresolved narratives. It is the invisible structure built from trauma, upbringing, and societal expectations. We cling to titles, roles, validation, anything to feel secure within the cube's walls. But Saturn, the taskmaster, whispers, "Grow or remain trapped." The cube is both the trap and the mirror, and awakening begins when we see it clearly, not as something to escape, but to understand. Because what is seen can finally be transformed. Saturn as frequency. Is this the Matrix? Let's dive deeper. The idea that Saturn may not just symbolize control, but actually broadcast it. In 2004, NASA's Cassini spacecraft recorded a deep, eerie radio emission coming from Saturn, a haunting, fluctuating tone that pulsed in low-frequency radio waves. To the scientific community, it was simply an anomaly, part of the planet's complex electromagnetic environment. But to mystics, Gnostics, and esoteric researchers, it pointed to something far beyond. What if Saturn is not just symbolic of limitation, but is actually emitting the vibrational blueprint of this reality? According to this theory, Saturn functions like a cosmic transmitter, sending out energetic frequencies that subtly shape human consciousness and perception. These frequencies, it said, encode ideas like time, control, separation, suffering, and form. The very building blocks of the matrix that traps the soul in material illusion. In this model, the black cube, so prominent in religious architecture, corporate logos, and modern monuments, is seen not just as a spiritual symbol, but as a receiver, a metaphysical tuning fork for Saturn's frequency. The question then becomes, are we unconsciously attuned to this frequency of fear, density, and form? And more importantly, can we shift it? Because if Saturn is transmitting, the awakening may be as simple as returning the receiver inside your own mind. Occult Interpretations, From Coffin to Chrysalis. In the occult world, symbols are never one-dimensional. The cube, especially the black cube, is not just a trap, it's a test. In alchemy, Saturn represents lead, the heaviest metal, the beginning of the spiritual journey. But through purification and transformation, that becomes gold, the awakened soul. So the black cube, it's the prima materia, the raw material of the soul, wrapped in karma, ego, and fear. In ceremonial magic, it forms the boundaries of sacred space, a container in which the magician dissolves illusion and contacts truth. In the tarot, it is the devil, but it is also the tower where divine lightning shatters false structures, and ultimately the world, the complete integration of matter and spirit. The occult doesn't fear the cube, it confronts it, because only through structure can you transcend structure. The cube in architecture, logos, and culture. You'll find the black cube hidden in plain sight. In the world of corporate branding, the cube often symbolizes reliability, control, and authority. Its symmetry and solidity project a sense of trust and permanence, which is why tech giants, banks, and defense firms subtly embed cube or hexagonal shapes into their logos. In modern architecture, glass and steel cubes dominate city skylines, monolithic towers rising like temples of commerce, reflecting Saturnian values of structure, order, and power. Meanwhile, in memorials, especially those honoring traumatic histories, the use of stark, cubic slabs evokes a sense of weight, silence, and unresolved emotion, each block a geometric echo of grief, grounding remembrance in solemn form. To most, these are just designs, but symbolically, they echo Saturn's dominion over time, form, and karma. The cube is everywhere because we built society around it. We live in cubes, work in cubes, sleep in boxes, and even carry digital black cubes in our pockets, our phones, devices of connection and distraction. It's not accidental. Saturn's energy, structure, time, consequence saturates our modern world, but only the awakened see the cage. The cube as a spiritual tool. Here lies the great paradox. The black cube, so often seen as a symbol of confinement, is also a sacred temple. While it may initially appear as a prison, rigid, immovable, and cold, deeper esoteric traditions reveal a truth. The cube is not meant to be escaped, but understood. It is the initiation chamber of the soul. In sacred geometry, when a cube is unfolded, it becomes a cross, a powerful symbol of suffering, sacrifice, and ultimately, resurrection. This is no coincidence. The journey through the material world, symbolized by the cube, inevitably brings trials. But those trials, when faced with awareness, lead to spiritual rebirth. The 6 faces of the cube represent the dimensions of physical existence: north, south, east, west, above, and below. But the mystics have always whispered of a hidden direction: inward, the 7th direction, the center, the soul. You do not transcend the cube by smashing it. You transcend it by going through it. Through stillness, meditation, shadow work, and sacred discipline, Saturn's sacred tools, you begin to unlock its hidden doors. The cube, then, becomes not a tomb, but a womb for awakening. The moment of liberation. Most people live their entire lives inside a cube, yet never see its walls. They wake up each morning and step into routines shaped by unseen hands. They repeat inherited patterns, chase artificial desires, and perform roles designed long before they were conscious. And all the while, they never stop to ask the most important question: whose construct is this? The cube isn't inherently oppressive. It becomes so only when you move through it unconsciously, when you mistake its walls for truth and its patterns for freedom. But something changes the moment awareness dawns. The cube begins to shimmer, its surfaces crack, and from those fractures, light begins to pour in. Every pressure from Saturn, every boundary, every hardship was not to punish you, but to prepare you. And once you face your fears, integrate your shadow, and pass through Saturn's trials, the cube transforms. It becomes not a cage, but a foundation, not a limit, but a launch pad. You no longer reject form. You spiritualize it. You don't run from structure. You animate it with consciousness. This is the birth of your higher self. The black cube. So, is the Black Cube of Saturn evil? No, it's a paradox. It's karma and freedom. It's time and eternity. It's ego and soul. The Black Cube only becomes a prison when it is misunderstood. When we see its boundaries as final, its weight as punishment, and its silence as emptiness. But when we look deeper with awakened eyes, it reveals itself as our greatest teacher. The cube does not confine us. It defines where we are stuck. It mirrors our fears, our patterns, and the unconscious beliefs we cling to. And if you listen closely, it doesn't say, "You are trapped." It whispers, "You are ready." Spiritual growth doesn't begin after breaking free. It begins within the pressure, within the weight, within the silence of the cube. And when you choose to walk the edges of that structure with presence, when you meet each fear and each limitation with awareness, when you remember your divine nature beyond form, the cube dissolves, and what's left isn't just emptiness, it's clarity, radiance, freedom. You awakened, unbound. So if this message found you today, perhaps it wasn't by chance. Perhaps Saturn is knocking, not as a jailer, but as a teacher, not to confine you, but to awaken something ancient within. The Black Cube was never your enemy. It was your initiation, your sacred trial, your mirror. And now, you know how to walk through its shadow. You are no longer bound by it. You are ready. So if you feel that stirring, that call, then don't stop here. The path continues, and the hidden wisdom is waiting for those who choose to see.